Now, despite Arsenal being third in the Premier League and a really good spot for the Champions League qualification, it seems like a lot of people have gone mental over the Fulham draw. In this video, we're going to go and talk about everything going on with the team and why people just need to calm down and wait to see what happens. So let's get into it. Now, I don't usually do videos like this, but this video is particularly coming from a point of anger and a bit of disappointment with the fans. Now, overall, I know you guys on YouTube are very intelligent, and I know a lot of you have really good discussions in the comments, and I've spoke to some of you that do allow me to change my perspective because you actually put up good points. And I know Twitter is never the best place to go for even right discussions about football. It's always going to be extremist views. Now, the reason why this video is happening and what I'm going to talk about today is about the current squad. I made a video the other day talking about my concerns about a particular position being the left wing spot and how there is definitely concerns with the team which I think are valid. I also think sometimes Mikel Arteta does get things wrong. I mentioned I thought he got maybe some of his lineup wrong against Fulham, but I can understand why he did that with the injuries in place. However, for some reason on social media, it seems like as soon as you say Arteta has done a bad job in one game, people think he isn't good enough to lead us to glory. And I understand it's hard to get that perspective because we haven't actually got to glory yet. We haven't quite achieved exactly what we want to, and we are on our way still. And although it may seem like we have stalled a little bit, I do think it is quite hard to judge, especially with how good the Premier League is getting every year. And you've seen teams always struggle. And I'm saying this because I do think you can criticise Arteta in game-to-game ratios but not want him to be sacked. This whole idea that every single manager doesn't get anything wrong is stupid. Arne Slot has got things clearly wrong for Liverpool this season and they haven't been punished like we have. If you look at the XG that Arsenal have conceded from all their last 4 to 5 goals, it's borderline barely chances, and it's unfortunate that the other team are just being clinical every time and getting them, and they're just individual errors here and there, which is nothing to do with Arteta. I also think if you look at the XG Arsenal have created and the amount we've scored in a lot of games, it's also not Arteta's fault. We are very wasteful in possession and he is coaching the perfect system to get the players in the right place, but they're just not taking them chances, which can't all be down to him. Now, yet again, like I said, I don't think he is completely forgivable in every single game, but he makes 1 or 2 mess ups every 16 to 17 games, if even that, and that is completely fine. Pep Guardiola makes major mistakes. When he made the major mistakes in the Champions League final against Chelsea, there weren't Man City fans saying that they should get rid of him because he's still a brilliant manager and was going to take them to glory. It just takes time when some people make these decisions. Another thing I've seen Arteta get a lot of blame for is the recruitment in the summer. While I do think Arsenal definitely should have bought better, we don't know the complete situation, and blaming that on Arteta is never going to solve anything. Arteta does have a lot of power with transfers, but he doesn't have all the power ultimately. People are looking at Edu and saying he didn't have much and that's why he left, but we've still got people like Richard Garlick who is also there, and there's been a lot of other people in the past that have helped Arteta with transfers. He can't do it all. Another big point is that the Kroenkes still fund the club. There's been talks about them not wanting to give too much money every year because they want to see results, and I do think that's a major reason why Arsenal weren't allowed to buy players in the summer. Now, of course, I don't know, I'm speculating, but to blame Arteta for us not buying certain players, you can't really say that. We don't know what's going on, and we may have only been given 80 mil, and I've got to admit, Calafiori, when he plays, does help the team a lot more, and when he isn't there, we look awful, especially because the fullbacks aren't a great place. So I can see why he spent his money relatively on that. Now, I definitely think we did need an attacker, and that is fair to criticise them for that reason, but ultimately this is how football works. Liverpool didn't spend any money in the summer, got a new manager in, and now look at them. Everyone's going on about how great they are, and then if they fall off by the end of the season, everyone will be criticising them, forgetting about this period. And that is just the same if Arsenal get good again, and that is always going to be the cycle. And it's not always about buying players that are going to improve it, it's just about making the players you've got better in itself. And I've also seen so much criticism around Arsenal players. Now, in before, Bukayo Saka this season had been getting loads of criticism anyway, even from our own lot, just because he doesn't turn up in every game. Well, this season he has turned up nearly in every game, and against Fulham he didn't perform, so people are criticising him when he had 4 or 5 men on him at all times. What is he supposed to do? It's the same I've seen people say that Havertz can't get Arsenal to the next level. Now, I agree we need another striker maybe to give us different options, but people forget how good Havertz was at the end of last season, and this season he's not even been given a fair shot. He's had to play in midfield for most of his games, in which he's tried his best playing from deep, which he obviously isn't going to score goals from, and he is still Arsenal's top goal scorer. He does try it very hard in games, and of course there's criticism with his finishing, which is absolutely fair enough to have. You can criticise Havertz and say we should get someone else in, but to say he's not good enough for Arsenal is absolutely stupid thinking. And he's not the only person that's got criticism. Declan Rice is yet another one. Now, Declan Rice, I have said for a few times that he hasn't had the best season in the world, but the last couple of games and a lot of games this season, he's actually been really good in. He needs to be that 6th defensive midfielder, but even as an 8, he does make things work, and we win most of our games. It's just when we don't, it's suddenly the end of the world for everyone, and every player isn't good enough for the squad. Even then, people are not taking into the fact that teams that we're playing against have got better. Bournemouth are better than last season, you know, Fulham are even better than last season. Nottingham Forest are better than last season, and we beat them. Like, these teams have improved to a great level, and everyone wants everything they can get when we beat the teams like Tottenham, and, you know, we get these good results against the top 6 teams, but then as soon as it's these games, it's the end of the world. It's just how the league works right now. Every game is so hard, and it's why I want to call people out who I don't think are performing well consistently. Now, I have said I don't think Havertz is on the best form right now, but he is still good enough for this squad because he has proven it this year. Martinelli hasn't really been that good for 2 years now, and while I know everyone has excuses about the reasons for that, and there is definitely some sort of leeway you can have with it, I don't think he has personally been good enough, so I will call it out how I see it. But I'm not going to go out and make these outlandish statements that he's not good enough to be in any part of the squad, which is just not true, and that he doesn't try hard enough, because he really does, and it's just unfortunate that he is not confident and can't do that ability. And it's the same people that criticize everything all the time. You know, David Raya had a few big slip-ups when he first joined, but no one gave him that time to adapt. People think that people are just going to be instantly amazing nowadays, which has never been the case in football, especially not now. It just takes time, and it just seems like a lot of the Arsenal fan base has their favourites, and I can understand that. I have my favourites in the squad, I would say, but I do try to be even about who is actually good, and there's players that I personally don't like from a personal level, and sometimes I may say things that are a bit out of pocket about them, which I shouldn't really. I should just look at it from a football sense, and there's a lot of players that have been very good this season that people won't give the credit to because they don't like, and I just don't really think that is very fair overall. Now, I don't want to come off like a bit of a dickhead in this video, but this video was just to kind of get my opinions out there because I was just getting so frustrated by seeing all this stuff about Arsenal. I get that people are annoyed that we drew to Fulham, which is fair enough. I get people annoyed we are 9 points behind Liverpool if they win their game in hand, but there's still a long way to go. We aren't even halfway through the season yet, and we're still in a really good space. We have to take every game as it comes and just focus on ourselves, and if things don't get better between March and April, we can have these conversations. We can't become too reactive about small little things all the time. Sometimes you just got to take the punches and just keep moving on. And of course it is frustrating, but I've said this multiple times that if Arsenal do not win the league this year, we're going to be there next year. It's not like we're going to fall off. Our team's a perfect age and our manager's a great age to learn anyway. I get it's even more annoying, especially if Liverpool win it or Chelsea win it, but what can we do about that? Ultimately, sometimes your year is not your year. We move on, but it's definitely not over, and I don't want to be thinking like it is right now, especially with the fans that actually know what's going on. We have a right to be frustrated, but to call all our players not good enough and our manager should be sacked is just way too far. We need to take things slow. Overall though, I'm really appreciative that I have this platform to even have my opinions about Arsenal, and I'm really appreciative of everyone in the comments because you guys really do understand it, and I think we all kind of have maybe different opinions on players, which is absolutely fine, but we all understand the same thing, and ultimately we all want the same thing. We all want Arsenal to win trophies, and this is a journey we're all on together, so that's the main thing overall. You guys are the best. I'll see you in the next one.